And the most recent one I actually wrote last night, so. But, actually, that's the one I'll read first. The one I wrote last night. I want to build you a library and fill it with all your favorite books and all the reasons I still love you and I will never stop adding to it. That way you can wander the halls of my heart chambers forever. All the stories will never grow old and you and I will never grow old and some books are worth rereading. Let me hold your hand and lead you down the corridors decorated with the memories of you framed in silver and gold. Behind rose-tinted glass just out of reach, tomorrow the sun will shine new rays through the windows above us in such a way that everything will look like it is on fire. And just for a moment, it will bring us back to reality, where everything was on fire, a reality where this doesn't work. A reality where my heart was a tchotchke you left on the shelf to collect dust, and my tears now have their own blue spot on a topographic map of New York. And I will name it the lake after you. And I will name it Lake Indifference, and though you wouldn't love the name, you wouldn't hate it either, and I guess that's just so fitting. And when the rainy season comes, I will plant new roots. Roots that won't get washed away this time, I will plant deep roots. Roots so strong the winds can't blow me away, and I will plant flowers. I will start with forget-me-nots and bleeding hearts and all the wild rose that I can manage. No matter how many times the thorns hurt me, no matter how much I bleed on the canvas, I never did listen to red flags anyways. And now I am waving a white one. High enough for God to see, I am building a castle of cold limestone. Large enough to block out the sun, and when the armies of those who have never loved come to tear it down, they will never be able to find me. Thank you. And so this other one is called Writing a New Freedom, just kind of inspired by the overall, I used the word inspired, just the overall, chaos that's going on in this country specifically. I was 16 years old when I finally realized that I was gay. When I finally understood why I had so many girlfriends but could barely speak to other boys, I was 16 years old when I first kissed a boy. Felt his hand in my hair, the smell of his Axe body spray, which still makes me laugh to think about. I was 18 years old the first time I used Grindr, the first time I met a stranger in the night or held another body in the dark. It was the year I was first called sexy. It was the year I first learned how to love men, and the same year I learned to fear them. It was the year of the Pulse shooting in Florida. It was the year a man was beat to death on a train 10 miles from where I slept that same night for the crime of existing. For the crime of loving someone like me, it was the year I learned that not everyone who bleeds will resist cutting you too. I was 19 when a woman told me I had to hide, that it wasn't safe to be myself where I was living. I was 20 the first time I fell in love with another man. I mean, really fell in love, and I still dream about his eyes sometimes. Still miss that smile and the way he kissed me, but he's getting married next year. To a beautiful Christian girl at their beautiful Christian wedding, I never had the strength to accept that other side of himself. I was 21 when a woman took advantage of me while drunk. To prove to all her friends that I wasn't really gay, I just needed to try it. I was 21 when I tried to kill myself for the third time. And I was 22 when I finally moved away. Some people are only as progressive as it takes to survive, don't have the strength to fight for anyone else because it took too much just to get by, only as progressive as they can afford. First time I was called a fag was by a group of black men in New York City. First time I was chased down and threatened was by a Hispanic man in my city. First time I was harassed online was by a white boy I had rejected in college. And the whole baseball team followed suit no matter how many nudes they have since sent me. The first time I had my heart truly shattered was by an Asian man who I have never stopped loving. And the first time I was called worthless was by my father. And my mother still thinks this is a choice I am making, as if it is a choice anyone would want to try making, which is all to say I have trouble trusting sometimes. I have trouble leaning against trees that I know are rotten at their core, and we as humans are rotten to our core, and everyone only has enough activism left to fight for themselves. But I don't want to just fight for myself. I don't want to survive. I don't want to just fight enough to live. I want to fight for every parent who lost a child in a school shooting this year. I want to fight for every black man or woman whose life was taken from them. I want to graffiti Black Lives Matter on the walls of the Capitol building until everyone sees it. I want to fight for every Asian American who has been the victim of unbridled hate they did nothing to earn, to extinguish the bubbling, boiling racism of this nation. I want America to be a country where all people feel safe, where women don't have to bleed on copper and iron and can release the strangling grips of their own bodies. I want every child who steps out of their heteronormative game of hopscotch to feel loved, to know they belong, to know they are not alone, and that we will not stop fighting until everyone has freedom. Where trans people have the freedom to be true to themselves, where queer folk have the freedom to love who they love, where anyone of any race or ethnicity is free to be who they are. A country where the laws help all of us, not just those who wrote it.